One of the things that is interesting about Wabash County, we have incredible places that we sometimes take for granted. And one of the things you're really good at is taking what some consider the ordinary and turning it into the extraordinary. Is that just something that's natural for you to do?
I like to see beauty in the unordinary. So when I look at something, it's just like looking through the camera lens. It's no different. If I take a photo of a dead fish, there's something pretty about it. There always is.
Yeah.
I like to see the beauty in the things that maybe are lost, and I like to try to find it.
Yeah.
I think that my position here is a lot like a camera lens.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why I like them so much, is that I can see more.
That's what we're going to be covering on today's episode of the Thrive in Wabash County podcast. We're here with Jennifer Long-Dillon. She's the tourism manager for Visit Wabash County, and you've been in your role for...
I didn't know I was supposed to keep track.
It's over 11 years.
I think September will be 12.
12 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And we work together closely.
Yes.
And have seen a lot of change and a lot of growth in the way that tourism is viewed, not only locally in Wabash County, but regionally and internationally. And you do have this ability of using that lens you referenced and seeing things that even myself don't recognize could be an experience or incorporate into an experience. I think that's really something that is a natural talent of yours. And one of those things that you've done is you've been able to marry experiences with historical locations or forgotten locations. And so one of the programs we're going to talk about today is a music event that was your idea, that you came up with the complete concept. And so can you talk a little bit about that music event, the concept, and where it came from?
So I assume you're referencing Bluegrass at Hopewell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess where it started is that I had a thought process to do a Bluegrass event more in a farm type setting was the original idea.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like out on a farm in the middle of a pasture kind of thing was my original thought process. However, I couldn't quite get around it. And then randomly, I would assume that this is definitely a God thing, Deb Connor and Tammy Kiefaber, who are sisters, and Deb owns the Hopewell barn. She wanted to have a conversation about another thought process that the barn could be used for. Normally, it's used as a wedding venue and always has been. That's its original design, but she really wanted to do something different.
Now, but with the Hopewell barn, you said Deb Connor owns it and operates it, but there's a history to it, and it's located out in a more rural part of Wabash County and outside of the city limits.
Yeah, so it's one of those places that's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's an old dairy farm, essentially, and hasn't been used in many years as a dairy farm. Deb's family owned it, and that's what it was used as. And she brought it back to life and restored this barn, and obviously now uses it as a wedding venue and has for the past, 7 or 8 years now, I guess, is its longevity. Before that, it was just sitting there, not doing anything.
And she lives on the property.
She lives on that farm, yes, in a house next to it, not in the barn.
Right.
Some people question.
Or they've converted it, barns into homes, which has become a thing too, especially in the Midwest. And you had this idea of wanting to do something that incorporated music in a rural experience, and at the timing, like you said, a God thing. Deb reached out, said she wanted to do something. So I assume the property, the Hopewell barn, is generally used for special events like weddings, which are a lot of setup, tear down, and a lot of work.
I think that's the only thing that it's ever been used for when we had initially talked was weddings.
Wow.
It hadn't been used as anything else but a wedding venue. So Deb and Tammy and I met it was actually at the LaGrow Legion. We
Another hot spot there in LaGros.
Yeah, another hot spot. We went in.
Big ideas happen at the American Legion in LaGros.
Apparently. But we went in and we had a cocktail and they started telling me about all this. And I was like, wow, this is so strange that you're coming to me with this idea because I actually have a thought for you. But I initially told them that I have to ask the boss lady for approval before I can move forward with this. So they were pretty excited and gave me time to figure this out and what that would look like. So
to your knowledge, really there wasn't anywhere else locally that was currently doing a sort of music in a rural setting or experience or ticketed event that you're aware of?
No, not at all. I mean, our musicians that we have that come to Bluegrass at Hopewell, they're from all over. We actually have one this year specifically coming from Colorado. I have a feeling that most of these people, these musicians, have never played in a barn in the middle of nowhere, which I think is ultimately a very unique experience nationally.
When you had this idea, bring bluegrass music as part of this event, this experience, taking advantage of the Hopewell barn. There's acoustic, there's country, there's rock, there's cover bands galore. Why bluegrass?
Well, one, I love the way a banjo sounds.
Yeah.
Two, it's lost.
It feels.
I mean, it's not around here. Kids that come to this event get exposure to music that they've never heard before. And what could be better? May not be something that everybody listens to on a daily basis. However, it's part of our history. It's a part of our culture that a lot of people forget about. So it's just one more thing that I like to bring attention to.
Well, with bluegrass too, it has inspired other types of music, much like blues has done that in the past, or jazz has inspired what modern music producers are making. And you're right, there is this richness to bluegrass that also feels very grassroots and very cultural. And when you have instruments like the banjo, partnered with an upright bass and a violin, or a fiddle, that's not the music people are most likely downloading on their music playlist. Some do. You have some enthusiasts that now come to this event year after year, which takes place generally summer months.
Summer?
Yeah.
Usually the end of July.
Yeah. I've heard you talk about it's the most beautiful time of the year in Indiana.
It is the most beautiful time of year in Indiana.
Yeah, it is really pretty. And so the corn is down, right? Generally, seasonally.
So it's supposed to be knee-high by the 4th of July. Okay?
You're right.
So it's usually well over that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty tall, but it's still very green at that time of year.
Yeah, which is not harvest time yet, so it's really still real pretty.
And beautiful. Yeah.
When you think about the bluegrass music event, is it meant to be a balance between family entertainment, professional outings? When you think about who's attending a bluegrass event in Urbana, Indiana, in an old restored barn, who is your target audience that you're trying to attract?
Everyone. I would say this is one of the very few events in the area that is meant for everyone. Older people, middle-aged people, families, elderly can come to this event because we can easily get them inside the barn.
Yeah.
You know, Deb comes and gets you in her little golf cart at your car and rolls you right up into your spot, and you just pick out a chair and go, or bring your own chair. So every age demographic this event is meant for. I wouldn't say that I would focus on one more so than the other, just because I love to see young children at it, because they have an opportunity to hear a fiddle and a banjo and a bass. There's so many things. And it's not just bluegrass. There is a little bit of twang country involved, especially when Dwayne is there.
Yeah.
He really fills that out well. So it's just for every single person that's around, whether you like bluegrass or not. There's something at Bluegrass at Hopewell for everyone, whether that's a spicy cocktail or getting the chance to, what's that game called where you throw that bing bag in the hole?
Cornhole.
Cornhole.
Yeah.
Like we even have horseshoes, like where you play horseshoeing. Is that what you call it?
Horseshoe toss?
Yeah, where you toss horseshoes around a lawn
Or
something.
feed bag sack races.
Right. Like, I mean, who does that now?
No. And I think what's happened is you have found a great way to marry our landmarks, especially in the Midwest, something we appreciate are our barns, with music, with family entertainment. And over the years, as you continue to refine this event, it sounds like you're always looking for ways to increase engagement with those who are attending to create this family connection, this friendly connection. So you talk about the live music, you talked about the ability to get cocktails if you'd like, or a sweet tea if you prefer, water,
Lemonade.
of course, lemonade, but also the family component and the children engagement component. You've added some new things like pony rides are coming, and the addition of the family-friendly games, because the primary main stage is inside the barn. But
Up top.
Yeah, up top. But then outside, you extended the programming.
A little bit about the barn itself. The barn is massive. Like, it's very large for a bank barn.
Holds about 300.
350 is our capacity on the inside.
Yeah.
This doesn't entail what the outside is. So last year, or a couple of years ago now, we added a tent, which gave a little bit more shelter from the harsh sun, or even if it rained. Was it our first year or our second year that it poured? And it was a total hot mess.
When in those messes, though, that's when you learn, right? You moved all those who had purchased lawn seats into the lower level of the barn, and it worked.
Yeah.
But you decided then at that point, we'll cover the yard. Cover it with the tent.
We did move all of those people inside and moved our musicians around quite a bit and made it work, and it worked very well. However, we learned some pretty crucial lessons from all of that. In a way, I'm kind of glad that it happened on the first year, because really we probably needed it to better understand what we could actually do. So now having a tent gives a little bit more shelter to the people that are outside, not just to rain, but also to sun too. It provides a little bit more shade for people. And then we still keep the bottom of the barn open for vendors. And if we do have hopefully never, but a tornado running through, we have shelter.
Like an emergency plan in place.
Right. So that bottom of the barn is there. So knowing that you're going to be protected through it all is a good feeling to have.
Well, you have these musicians too who do perform outdoors because you have multiple time slots of entertainment going on. You have a main stage, you have the lower level. And then in addition to what's going on at the Hopewell barn, especially for Bluegrass at Hopewell, you found another innovative way to highlight a property that is a part of this actual event that takes place each year, and that's at the Hopewell Church,
right?
Which is the antique boutique at Hopewell, but the Hopewell Church is what generally we reference it. And that's been another way to highlight a historical landmark and use it in addition to just touring through it.
Honestly, I think that stemmed from, I just really wanted trolley number 85 there. So I don't do very many events without the trolley. So I needed a way to utilize the trolley. And I thought, well, Deb and Tammy own the church as well and really don't utilize it all that much. And it's a massively historic piece of our history. Gene Stratton Porter, and just it gives a day for the church to be open, and then people can actually come in and see it.
And shop the antiques that are in there too.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the trolley. Trolley number 85 is a 34 people passenger vehicle that you are also responsible for programming these special experiences, and you looped it in. And how is it used during Bluegrass at Hopewell then, the trolley itself?
So the trolley comes up to the barn and does a pickup of people. You hop on the trolley, and then you go a half a mile down the road to the Hopewell Church, which is the antique boutique at Hopewell. Yeah. And then inside, you get dropped off there at the church. And remember, when you're traveling via trolley number 85 down to the church, not only do you get to travel in the trolley, but you also get to see the landscape of Wabash County. right before you get to the Hopewell Church, there's a beautiful pasture of horses. There's fields of corn or beans, whatever is in those fields at that time. It kind of drops down into like a little wooded creek right before you go up the hill. So just a half a mile is beautiful at that time of year. Heck, at that time, any time of year, that little pass is probably one of the prettiest.
It is really pretty.
But once you get down to the church, you unload there and then you hop in. Now, you got to remember, this is in the middle of nowhere, so there's no traffic. Like, you just hop out on the side of the road.
It's a country road, right? It's safe, low vehicular traffic count.
Right, right. I mean, I don't know if there's really anybody that I've seen any traffic out there when I have gotten in the trolley and went down that way.
Mm-hmm.
So you go into the Hopewell Church. We have more live bluegrass music inside the church. It's very acoustic feeling.
Yeah.
So it's a little different from what it is at the barn. And then we partner with Bailey's Pizza Parlor, which they're from the Rowan area. And Bailey and her mom come in and they do some sort of treat. And that's part of your ticket as well. So you get a tasting of something.
A sweet of some sort made by...
Yeah, like one time we did little pretzel bites with dipping sauces. Another time we did different types of cobblers.
Yeah.
Another time we did different types of mini pies. And Bailey and her mom make all this stuff, like from scratch.
So it's an opportunity, in addition to highlighting the Hopewell Church,
Mm-hmm.
you're also now highlighting a local business.
Mm-hmm.
And they're beyond just, you said it was Bailey's Pizza Parlor. So
Mm-hmm.
in addition to the pizza parlor side of things, she also does custom baked goods with her
Yes.
mom's. And her mom operates in another business in Rowan, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, in-laws.
And they do catering and also do sweets as well,
Yeah,
right?
they do ice cream there.
Oh, that's right. They have an ice cream location in Rowan, Indiana.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
so then generally there's another type of tasting featured at the Hopewell Church, in
Mm-hmm.
addition to the complimentary sweet treat provided by Bailey's Pizza Parlor. Then you also have, sometimes you've done a tequila tasting.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do a brandy?
Bourbon.
You've done some others in the past. And so that's something that's also a fun feature for those who are brave to try new cocktail beverages or mixers of sorts.
Yeah.
What I hear you describing about Bluegrass at Hopewell, it's not a standard festival where it's hundreds and hundreds and you're in this massive sea of uncomfortable people and mess. It sounds really intimate, and it sounds like a great way to connect people who enjoy live music
Mm-hmm.
to other entrepreneurs or other business owners that are in the community. Who's attending this? You told us who your target audience is.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about who's planning on coming to Bluegrass at Hopewell, you told us who you want to come, but who is attending? Is it a mix of people from Wabash County, people from out, like who's into this?
Gosh. I mean, there's a big group of Wabash Countyans, when we call Wabashians that do attend this. We have some people from, the Huntington area, the Marion area, Fort Wayne. We've had some people coming down from the Chicago area. I mean, what could be better going from the Chicago life into one of the most beautiful countrysides and coming down to experience something like Bluegrass at Hopewell and having a full day of activity, essentially.
Well, it's a quick trip.
Yeah.
The major metropolitan area of Chicago is roughly 3 hours, give or take.
Right.
And you're in this rural beauty. And if you are a music enthusiast, it's a great, easy drive to spend a weekend in Wabash County doing something that's atypical from your normal weekend.
Even if you're not into bluegrass music, there's many other things that you can do while you're at Bluegrass. Just the trolley rides. If you're bringing your family down, you can have the pony rides, which are free.
Yeah.
Many other things that is very country-like. In our
and safe. It feels safe.
It's very safe. Yes.
These ideas of bringing to life or bringing a new type of purpose and interaction with the space is something that is key to the role that you play as tourism manager, and something that uniquely allows for people to experience places in a new interactive way. So looking at what Bluegrass at Hopewell has done, it's set the stage and also proven that no matter where you live, if you look at the assets that you have in your community, your county, you can figure out new ways to not only highlight the structures itself or the businesses itself, but bring in others. You've created partnerships, it sounds like, between an event venue, an antique shop, and restaurant tours that are all within this kind of rural area that maybe didn't have a relationship before. Does that sound accurate or close?
I mean, the idea that I really wanted to achieve when it came to Bluegrass at Hopewell was, obviously, I work for Visit Wabash County. It's not just the town of Wabash or the city of Wabash that I work for. It's the entire county. So the idea was, even though it's out in the middle of nowhere, I wanted to try to draw in all of Wabash County to this event.
Yeah.
People from Rowan, people from North Manchester, people from Wabash area, people from LaGrow, like all of those people, I wanted to try to pull them into one because, to be honest, our county is better together, which we've said that so many times. So that was the idea that stemmed from it. A lot of these people are my normal partners that I like to work with. I know that I can count on them. I know they're going to pull through. I know that I don't have to worry about them. They're used to the way that I roll, so they know what I expect from them, and I know what to expect from them myself.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you are right. It is in a mix of people who are local, who put this event on their calendar year after year. It's tradition for them. Their business buys a table, or girlfriends get lawn seats. But the flip side is this event does attract people to experience Wabash County in a way that they may not have known was an option before, right?
Right.
And through that, it sounds like you're building ambassadors in the people who are attending that are from our community that get to say, wow, people are actually coming in and experiencing what we have right here. And so they become our natural ambassadors to tell that Wabash County story of the things that we're doing that might feel a little different, but also is progressing or attracting more people to become aware of what Wabash County has to offer. And this event, this Bluegrass at Hopewell event, it doesn't end when the music concludes at the Hopewell barn, because I think that's the other part that I found really interesting. When you built this experience, it was, how do we then take this audience that we have and give them something else that they can experience before their entire night concludes?
So the first year that we had it, it was over at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and people were coming up and asking me where the after party was. Well, I was like, oh gosh, I didn't think about that.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
So then I was like, oh, I better come up with something. So, more of an easier way to get people to move out of the barn into another really cool location was to team up with the 950 Speakeasy in LaGrow and see if they...
Which is about, what, like a 10-minute drive between locations, something like that. So it was a natural place to progress to once the main event.
They stay open usually until midnight or 1.
Okay.
At 9:30, then everybody's, if you want to keep going, there's more bluegrass music at the Speakeasy, which is nice. You can just go down there. There's plenty of room to park in LaGrow, and then you can just walk to the Speakeasy there. It's very easy drive, easy parking. There's inside and outside. Up at the top, you can still bring your kids too. So it's
hopefully
still
they're in bed by 10 o'clock.
Well, you never know. There might be some party animals and that they just really want to go to the Speakeasy and see more bluegrass. Yeah. So the bluegrass music then starts there at 9:30. And so then they can decide whether they want to go to that or not. And that's free. You just go to it if you
decide to get something to eat, that's on you. But the music and the after party doesn't cost anything additional.
Right.
And if you're interested in learning more about Bluegrass at Hopewell, all that information will be in our show notes on where you can see the band lineup for the current year, as well as what the itinerary looks like for the night. You have booked different bands. Some have returned over the course of this event. But there is actually a local bluegrass band that has quite a following that performs at Bluegrass at Hopewell and have become great partners of yours, correct?
Yes. So they are barrel scrapers. And gosh, I think there's 7 of them.
And they're based in North Manchester,
North
correct?
Manchester, yeah. I think most of them live around the North Manchester area. And when you have 7 bluegrass playing instruments all in one area, it becomes a little tight. But they do such a great job.
And they have great outfits.
Oh,
they dress
so authentic.
They look so great. Yeah, they do.
They have the white shirts and the suspenders and the hats, and they just look adorable. They have a little bit of gospel in their music too, which I like because some of our other is more country bluegrass, and they're bringing in a little bit more gospel bluegrass. So each band really delivers a different piece of bluegrass music, which is another reason that I like to add different people.
Yeah, because you get a different flavor for it.
Yeah.
I forget, I think it was the 90s. A movie came out with George Clooney called Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And what it did is it brought that bluegrass music back into mainstream. And I remember having that soundtrack. I think it was the late 90s, maybe early 2000s, somewhere in there. And so you have this resurgent where modern music lovers are thinking, wow, I really love the sound of this if you hadn't been exposed to it before, if it wasn't something you were used to before. And so you have a band that you've booked in the past that covers some of the music from that movie. That's always a crowd pleaser and a crowd favorite. And I think when we've watched this event year after year, you watch the people who attend and, like I said, mark it on their calendar. They're up dancing and enjoying it. This isn't a stuffy, stoic, sit in your seat event. This is get up, mingle, network. Say hello to the people that you maybe haven't seen in a while. Make new friends along the way. And it's been really neat to see how this event has inspired other programming that you've come up with over time.
One thing that I love about this event is it gives me the opportunity to introduce people to one another. So let's say I have a friend that I know is coming from the Fort Wayne area, and I'm like, oh, you have to meet somebody from the Somerset area because you guys have this in common. This gives me an opportunity to introduce these people together to see then what they can come up with for something else in the future.
But when people come, we have no idea. Those who may be visiting for the Bluegrass event, they could be looking for a place to live, a new place to call home. They could be looking for a place to expand their business. So those connections can eventually prove pretty profitable for a community because it provides the atmosphere for connectivity and community to feel that connection together.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to see these people talking that have never spoke or met each other in their lives. And I think that's another piece of it. And I will specifically look for people that I can introduce to each other because I know that this event gives us an opportunity, not just for people to see our community, but for people to get to know one another, which is what I really like about it as well. And like you said, it's not stuffy. It's very relaxed. You can move around the barn and see the beauty of the barn and experience every piece of it, which I don't know any music events or really any experiences like it around the area.
And I think what I've witnessed over time is those who are there, they start to build these authentic connections. And even though that there's a cash bar available to those, it doesn't ever feel like that's its purpose. It's never how much can people just consume and drink.
No.
It really is this place of connectivity in this beautiful setting that feels just really great and a great way to bring attention to a part of the county that isn't just a natural attraction point, right? You created this experience around it. Doing something like that takes a tremendous amount of time. And planning and meeting. And one of the things we want listeners from the Thrive in Wabash County podcast to pick up from this is things that can inspire the listener to do within their own community, within their own organization. And So if you were to look at some of the experiences you've developed over the years, is there anything that the listener could easily take back and do in, like I said, in where they are right now in their community or in their organization? Like just a few takeaways that have helped you be able to create these experiences that highlight Wabash County in a unique, different way.
I think that if you have a crazy idea, you should go with it. Because 9 times out of 10, that crazy idea is going to stem into something really awesome. So even though you may get really weird reactions from people about an idea, like just keep trying to convince them and figure out a way to make it work. Because I think that there's always a way to make things work. You just have to figure out what that way is, just like Bluegrass at Hopewell. I originally thought it was going to be on a dairy farm, with cows and pigs and stuff. I didn't think that it could be in a barn that's used for weddings. I don't know that I would have thought of it if Deb and Tammy wouldn't have said, hey, we want to do something different. Do you have any ideas? Well, somehow it just popped into my head. So, I mean, even though it was there, but
do you keep a list? You come up with, in addition to Bluegrass at Hopewell, some other programming, and on a later episode, we'll talk through some of that. So listeners, stay tuned. There'll be more of Jennifer Long-Dillon in the future. But you keep this list of ideas going because every year, some become tradition, annual events, like the Bluegrass at Hopewell, and others are just programming that around certain experiences. Do you keep a list?
I guess I keep a list in my head of some that there's one specifically that I've wanted to do for a long time. I just, don't have the time in my life to do it because I know it's another huge experience like Bluegrass at Hopewell. It wouldn't be a music event. It would be something completely different. But when we talk about trolley tours, I have goals that I try to accomplish every year. And some of those goals include different types of trolley tours. And sometimes I just am out adventuring in the county and I see something, and then that's when a light bulb goes off.
So how do you make it make sense? So you have these ideas and that you've got this running list, or you're out in the county and something sparks oh my gosh, I could turn that into an experience. Do you have a process, pen to paper, budget? What's your process then to take something? And you said, if you've got a crazy idea, pursue it, start meeting, talking about it. But is there a process that someone can adopt for themselves or try out for themselves then to get something to actually come to fruition, even if it takes a little bit of time?
I think the first thing that rolls through my mind is a timeline of the event itself.
Like what it could look like.
Yeah. Including actual times, writing those times down. Once I do that, then I can wrap my mind around everything else. So what do I need in that timeline, which then cues a budget. How much money am I going to need? How much is this going to cost? Am I supposed to be making money from it? Some things I do, some things I don't. It depends on what it is. Is this a fundraiser? It all depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And then you have to go from there. And then that's when you start to develop your actual plan of action and how you're going to get there. So I really hate spreadsheets because I feel like there's too many lines and I get lost in all the lines.
Yeah.
And so I basically just write a document, like a Google,
like an outline form.
Yeah. What is my objective? Like, what am I trying to accomplish?
Right.
Like, is it a fundraiser? Is it to showcase, in this case, Wabash County? What am I trying to do exactly? And then that's when my timeline rolls in, and then I add the budget at the end. I usually don't do a budget until I have a timeline because I need to know how long things are going to last in order for me to have an idea of where the money is going to roll in at.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. And then you set your ticket price based on expenses and
Correct.
So forth.
Yeah.
So you, obviously, I know you live out in the county. You live on a really cool family piece of land. Mm-hmm. And are very engaged in the rural world. I would call it, I live in town. I'm a city person.
You're a city person.
You're a country girl.
Yeah.
You have two amazing children.
Yeah.
And their ages again are,
Let's see, Gemma is 9 and Jude is 7.
yeah, and they love living on the family farm.
They do.
And I think it's really great the way your two kiddos have embraced animal care, right?
Yeah.
They're not necessarily milking an entire herd of milk cows, but they have some responsibility. And so Gemma has how many chickens?
She has 12.
12. And they're her pets.
Yes.
She cares.
Yes. She gives them cuddles and kisses. And she says that if you give a chicken a kiss at least once a day, they will love you.
They what? Well, Gemma's braver than I am. I don't think I could kiss a chicken. And then she also then collects eggs. She and her brother Jude collect eggs.
Yep.
They sell those.
Yep.
And that helps fund the care for the chickens.
What they sell, they have to put into a savings.
Right.
And so they have a savings it's basically like a piggy bank.
Yeah.
Where they put their money in and then they can take it out and they can count it, but they're not allowed to spend it on anything. They have to save it.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly they're saving it for, but something someday.
At some point, they'll have a need for their egg money.
Yes.
And then you also recently acquired a pony.
Yes.
Now, there's a difference between a horse and a pony. That's size, right?
Yeah, size.
Okay. But pony doesn't mean baby.
No.
Pony is
a size.
of horse, like
miniature ponies. And then there's ponies.
Okay.
And then there's horses.
Did not know that.
Yeah. And so a pony doesn't mean its age. A pony means its size.
Okay.
So Flash is more, I don't know, Beth calls him a horse pony because he's a big size pony.
Oh,
he's
is
probably the biggest size of a pony.
Before he would transition to horse category.
Yes.
Okay, got you.
Yes.
Got you. And the kids are learning to also take care of a horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is also interesting, has nothing necessarily to do with Bluegrass at Hopewell, other than I think Flash might appear in some of the promotions for that upcoming event, is you also took advantage of some horseback riding lessons right here in our community as well, correct?
Yes.
And this was before you even acquired Flash.
Right. Flash just
the pony.
Flash just fell into our lap.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah.
But before that, Gemma was this was her dream, is to take horseback riding lessons. And in a small community like Wabash County, you wouldn't think that we would have something like this 5 minutes down the road. And we do. Though, I don't know. Wabash County is beyond blessed in so many different ways. And people ask us all the time, why is Wabash County so different? And the only answer that I can come up with is it's the people that live here. They are amazing, honest, hardworking individuals who care about their community. That says all that you need to know about Wabash County as a whole. So having Emily in our community who trains horses and then opens up and comes to your house and works with your horse and your child who is loving it, I don't know what could be better. That's just amazing all the way around.
Yeah. I agree. I think I don't know that there's any way better to sum up this entire conversation than to agree with you that it is the people and people like Emily, who is just cherished here, but the hearts of those who live here make things happen. You're one of those people. You dream big, you work hard, and then you find a way to make it work. It's not just that you give up. You find a way that it's going to be impactful for the community as a whole. And like I said, you take what some may view as ordinary and turn it into an extraordinary experience.
When people say it takes a village to make a community and to raise children, our community fits that really well. It really does. It takes all of them. The way that Gemma looks up to Emily and sees her, the way that Jude looks up to certain people. It's definitely a special place.
It is a special place. I agree.
Yeah.
For those listening, if they want to learn more about Bluegrass at Hopewell, they can go to the visitwabashcounty.com website, and there's information there. There's information in our show notes. If you love all types of live music, live entertainment, we've also included our show notes, Honeywell Arts and Entertainment in Wabash County, and they have all types of live programming and also celebrate local performances. I know your daughter just danced on the Ford Theater stage inside the Honeywell Center.
She did.
The Thrive in Wabash County podcast is produced in partnership with Destination Wabash County and is supported gratefully. You talk about those people. We are really lucky. This is a new endeavor for us. And so we have the support of the Gilman Trust, the Sandra Kunkel Trust, the City of Wabash, of course, Visit Wabash County, Paperworks Industry, all leaning in alongside the Community Foundation of Wabash County to make this podcast help us share the stories, the lives, and the innovation that's coming out of Wabash County. So stay tuned to our next episode. It's going to be thrilling, and enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thanks.